Farmers are always the weakest link in the chain. They work in a very chaotic environment and the work doesn't get equally paid. So we wanted to make a change. The quality that cannot increase through the process. It can only go down and down because through the process you lose quality. And the only thing that goes up along that chain is the price.
Where do you get the profits out of this process?
We refer to everything as one unified process. There is no difference between the farmer, the industry, and the market, where the entire complicated value chain is actually made of two links. One is the farmer, who also is now his own industrial processor, and the customer. So you get better food for a lower cost.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Espressonomics. I'm very happy here because I'm with an expert in agricultural consultant industry and add value, the Israeli engineering, agricultural engineering, Amir Cahaner. Welcome, Amir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, the reason why I wanted to talk to you is that I really found what you have done with your associates, your partners in this endeavor you have in Kaima Agro. It's really wonderful because you have corrected a defect in the value chain in the we could call the global agro-industrial change of value. So the first question is, how did your company start?
Well, like many good things, it started from necessity. Me and my partners, we all come from families of farmers, from farming communities, and we have realized through our work in the agricultural industry that farmers are always the weakest link in the chain. They work just as hard as anyone else. They work in a very chaotic environment because the natural environment, the environment that is influenced by forces of nature is the most chaotic and vulnerable. And at the bottom line, they are getting paid very less because everything that goes along the way, every price increase, every cost that is added to the chain is taken from them. And you put more and more and more and more burdens on them, and the work doesn't get equally paid. So we wanted to make a change. And because of that, this is how we started. We worked together in several agricultural industries and ended up doing what we think is best, as you said, for the global value chain, but we are taking it bit by bit.
So can you explain me in detail what does your company do for the producers? And how they connect them to the different stages and of the value chain.
Look, when we are consuming fresh fruits and vegetables, there's nothing in the middle between the farm and the supermarket, let's say. There is only transportation and some kind of storage, mediation. Nothing really happens. But all of us, knowing it or even not knowing it, we consume a lot of products which are actually have an agricultural origin to them. Something that starts in the field, goes into an industrial process, and ends up as the food we eat, the drinks we drink, the lotions we put on our skin, even the color that we put on our shirts. A lot of industries use processed agricultural ingredients. Now, traditionally, and this goes from the days of the agriculture, of the Industrial Revolution, and up to this day. Traditionally, this world is divided into three stages: the farm, the industry, and the market. And through these three stages, you have what some call a value chain that has to go across the stages and bring whatever comes from the field through a set of industries to the finished good, which is being used by any of the companies that are producing whatever you eat, drink, or use in other ways. When things are divided, there are a conflict of interest between the farm level, the industry level, and the market level. And also inside these different segments, there is also a conflict between the farm and the trucks, between the trucks and the dehydrator, between the dehydrator and the grinder, between the grinder and the sieve, between the sieve to the blender, between the blender, full of conflicts that all have to flow through three different stages, many different links, until it gets to the end user. And the end user is the company that is making something natural and more healthy for you. Now, along this chain, we have the quality that cannot increase through the process. It can only go down and down, because through the process you lose quality. We have the quantity, which also goes down, because if anyone who knows industry knows that there is a loss in every industrial process. You lose flexibility because these links of the chain, they are not really connected. They are just pushing and pulling on the material. So there's no actual flexibility. And the only thing that goes up along that chain is the price, the costs, because everyone does a part of the work. Everyone has to make their own margin. Everyone has to transport the goods to the next industry. And this way, the margins are being burdened over and over and over and over again, together with the transportation costs, together with the previous margins, and you end up at the bottom line with a product for the companies that manufacture for you, a product which is of a lesser quality and a higher price. This is the current situation. But what we do in Kaima, we actually, from day one, we refer to everything as one unified process. There is no difference between the farmer, the industry, and the market. And what we do is that first of all, we change the value chain, that it will go through all the right spots, saving costs already by doing this, and then gradually, step by step, bringing more and more of the responsibility of the industrial process to the hands of the farmer. Okay? If we look at some industries are already working like that, and it seems very natural to us. For example, if you look at the wine industry, I guess that all of us can imagine, would like at least to imagine, that the same people that are making the wine are the same people who grew the fruits. Okay, you wouldn't have bought a bottle of wine where they tell you that the people who grew the fruits don't even know the winery. So in the wine industry, it looks very natural to us that everything will happen in the same place. And because of that, also wines are related to their regions. But what about the spices you eat? What about the color of your natural drinks? What about cosmetic lotions that you put on your skin? Have you ever tried to think, where do the ingredients come from? Is there any kind of relation between the manufacturer and the farmer? And this is exactly what we're trying to achieve. We are more and more of the industrial process into the hands of the farmer. At the very beginning, he's in charge of the farming stage, and then after a season, he's in charge also of the dehydration. And then the following season, he's in charge also of maybe, let's say, the separation. And then step by step, according to what the farmer feels comfortable with, we are getting more and more and more responsibility of the whole process into his hands. Of course, even if he achieved the entire industrial responsibility of processing his goods, and now you get out of the farm, you already get a finished product, an ingredient that can go into your diet, even then, he still needs to ship it overseas, which is another thing that we go hand in hand with him and teach him. And even if he does this, he still has to market and sell the goods, which is also something that we do for him. So eventually, our aim is to take that fragile value chain, fix it right, and then shorten it and shorten it and shorten it until we reach a situation where the entire complicated value chain is actually made of two links. One is the farmer, who also is now his own industrial processor, and the customer. And in that way, all the work is being done under the responsibility of the same hands, so you get supreme quality. And think of all the hands that we cut in the middle, and because of that, the farmer is left with much higher revenue and much higher profits, and still it is with much lower cost to the customer, who is the manufacturer of your food, for example. So you get better food for a lower cost. And the farmer, he gets higher and better quality for what he does. So everyone wins.
I wanted to ask, and what's the business model of your company? Where do you get the profits out of this process?
Look, let's take, for example, let's take a product like beetroot. Okay, beetroot is a very popular colorant for human food, for pet food, for other kind of natural coloring agents. Beetroot provides very good color. Now, you have the farmer who grows the beetroot, and then he sells the beetroot to someone who has to chop the beetroot. And after the beetroot is chopped, there's someone else who has to dehydrate the beetroots. Okay? And maybe then also take some processes that will keep the color inside the beetroot dry pieces. And after this is done, it goes to another industry where they extract the color out of the beetroot and sell extracted beetroot color, which is natural, healthy, and does a good work coloring food and everything. Now, this is the current model. Everyone makes his own profit. If you take some of the hands in the middle, you take it out, and the farmer has an industry in his site, then if every let's say that every station in the industry, they took $1 for their work. Now, all these dollars are at the farmer's hand, and he only has to profit once. So whatever reached the company, the end user, the company that puts color in your pet food, reaches at a much, if this would have reached the company for, let's say, $12, because everyone did some work and took some margin and bought it and took another margin and bought it and took another margin. Now it can get to the company not for $12 but for $8, because the same entity is doing the whole work. Now you realize that all of a sudden we have $4 just hanging in the air. So out of these $4, let's say that $2 will be taken off the customer price. So he will be able to make better and cheaper pet food for you. Another $2 will be added to the farmer, which will now be a proud and dignified manufacturer. And in the middle, a couple of cents are left, and this is what we take home for ourselves for making this whole thing happen. We do not charge consultant fees. We do not charge advisory fees. We don't make our profits from writing reports and giving sophisticated recommendations. We are making our living from whatever we were able to make the farmer and the customer profit together. This is our business model.
But when you solve the problem of the farmer, then he doesn't need you anymore. Is that a problem for your business model?
Why? I will ask you, why doesn't he need me? And I will also answer that question. He doesn't need me because now he's not a farmer, he is a super farmer. He is a farmer and he's an industrialist and he knows the market and he can do whatever he wants. Now, remember where we come from. We grew up in families of farmers. This is exactly where we want to bring the farmer to. We want, look, if the global population was dominated by the hard-working, honest farmers, we would have a much better world. These are the people that we want to rise and to put in the right place in every society. Of course, it doesn't come on the expense. You as the end user or the customer, as the company who manufactures anything for you, you don't have to pay for it. On the contrary, you pay less. The farmer is being upgraded and you only pay less. So one thing, for us, this is not a problem. This is our destination.
Yeah.
Yes, but on top of that, okay, so this farmer doesn't need us for his beetroot operations. But this farmer, he also has corn, he has onions, he has potatoes, he has paprika, he has parsley, he has many crops that all of them can go through the same process. And not only this farmer, he has 10 other different crops, but he also has 10 neighbors. Each of them also has 10 different crops. So actually, I mean, we can all live to the age of 1,000 years old, and we will still not be able to catch up with everything that needs to be done. So for us, it's not a problem at all.
What about the growth of your company? In order to grow, you will need to have more customers, more. As you told me that now you have clients in Africa, in Spain, and in Israel. But in order to grow, you will have to expand. Is that your objective for the following years?
It is definitely our objective. Look, in all around the world, and it might be for different reasons, but the bottom line is the same. All around the world, farmers should live more dignified life for the hard work that they're doing. They should get better revenues and better profits. And all over the world, customers like you and like everyone else are paying too much for a product which is of a too low quality. This is a global problem. And our intention is to expand to additional crops, to additional geographies, to every place that can enjoy this model of making everything a unified process. And to be honest, the only thing that keeps us from expanding as fast as we would have wanted is the fact that agriculture is a seasonal
activity
world. Yes, I mean, even if something works well, the next time you will be able to expand your crops is next season, which is mostly next year. So things move slow, but again, it is slow in terms, if you compare it to the high-tech industry or to the biotech industry, where things move faster in labs or in or on the programmers' tables. But still, everything moves quite nicely. It only takes a farmer that is willing to take his eyes off the ground and look and see that there's a better horizon if he will take more responsibility and also be paid for it.
What were the main difficulties when you start the company that you have, the main challenge that you have to face, and how did you solve them?
Two challenges from the two ends of the process. One challenge is at the customer end, is to convince the customer that the fact that he's actually paying less than what he paid for until now does not mean that he's getting something bad. Customers are used to pay a certain price. All of a sudden, you offer them something for a lower price, for a higher quality. They don't believe you. That was the one challenge at one end of the line. And on the other end of the line, the challenge was to convince farmers in the transparency and positiveness of the process. As I said, farmers all over the world are used to be suppressed by anyone else. And they, all of a sudden, they are being offered a model where they can take more responsibility, they are in charge of their own goods, and they make much higher revenues and profits. And farmers, because not for years and not for decades, for generations, they were used to be suppressed by the other links of the value chain. All the time they were looking like, okay, where and when in this model is it going to blow up in my face? When and where is that company going to take my money and disappear? And it's quite a difficult task to convince someone who was beaten and suppressed for so many generations that things can happen in a different way. So these were the challenges. Other than that, this is a model that everyone, the farmer, the customer, and everyone along the way, they make better profits than they used to be because we built the chain right and we condense the value chain.
How did you convince them? That's an important question. I mean, what were the strategies to convince someone that doesn't trust in the system because of this?
Basically, you just have to convince one of them. Because farmers know each other. After you convince one and you run for a season or two, everyone wants to be a part of that success. So that. And how did we convince that first one? First of all, like we did with the first one, and like we still do today, we always come with purchase orders in our hands. It's not a consultant that says, hey, you know what, build this factory and you'll make a fortune. No, we are coming with the money. Second, we are coming with agricultural expertise. We have an agricultural department with agronomists going hand in hand with the farmer, helping him with new crops, improving his current agricultural techniques. Third, everything that is built on the farm for the industrial phase belongs to the farmer. Okay, we don't. If we have to invest money into building the industry, we will invest the money. But at the bottom line, this is the farmer's possession. So even at the day after he already told us that he doesn't need us anymore, he stays with all the capabilities, and he stays with all the fortune and the knowledge. So this is how we convinced the first one. The first one brought the second one, and so on. And then, and the customers were more easy to convince.
Oh.
If you give, because the price is lower, and suddenly sales grow, and their position in the market grows. So this was even easier to do.
Let's say I'm a farmer from Argentina and I want to hire our services. Step by step, how can we do this?
First of all, you don't hire my services, okay? I come and I work with you. It's not a service that none of us serve the other. We work side by side. First of all, you have to be a farmer that is either growing or is willing to grow agricultural crops that are being used for the industry. Meaning, if you are just growing fresh vegetables or fruits, that's fine. It might be a great business, but there's nothing there for us to do. You sell it fresh, and at the other side, someone buys it fresh. So first of all, you have to either have something that is being used in the industry, or willing to plant something that is being used for the industry. Second, after we speak together and we realize what you are able to do, we find the customers for your future crops. Okay, we need to know before we start. We already figure out where this where are these yields going to go to eventually. Because as I said, we always come with the purchase orders. We don't come empty-handed and tell you, yes, go take the risk. Then we will set a price for what you will grow for us, and we will decide what is it that we are going to grow with you for the first season. And we are going to make a plan what will happen at the next stage when you will be ready. And at the first time you will plant something, we might give you the agricultural guidance. We might help you with the seeds, whatever you need, but we will make it the best field that is for that kind of crop, and we will buy the yields from you. We will take it to further processing. When you will tell us that you are ready and you have made enough revenues and you feel comfortable enough to go to the next stage, we will start together with you, and from part of the revenues that you've made, we will build the first part of the industry. Something small, something simple. And then you will keep on, and for the next season, you will grow the field, start the processing, and then we will buy it from you and take it for further processing. And you will already make greater revenues and profits. And in that way, step by step, we will take you all the way until you're doing the entire process, or until you say, that's enough for me. I don't want to take care to handle the entire process. I will just do the farming, and then the next 3 steps, I'm already making profits that I couldn't have dreamt of, and that's enough for me. Let's keep on working for the rest of our lives like this. That's not a problem. We are always in favor of the farmer, and we will not force him to take additional steps if he doesn't want to. But this is where it will start. We will meet the farmer. We will understand what he grows. We will understand what he can grow. We will understand maybe what he used to grow in the past, but stopped because it wasn't profitable. But now, when he's also doing the next steps, this will become like a fortune to him.
In this process, what is the major risk that you take? What can go wrong? I mean, for you.
Look, the only thing that can go wrong is what is the same thing that always goes wrong in farming. Okay, we always say, I don't know if it translates well, but we say that the man makes plans and God laughs. Okay, everything can go wrong at the farm, but we have 30 years of experience in the farm, so we can prevent most of the things. But again, things can go wrong on the farm level, but they usually don't go that wrong. The risk is there, but this is the same risk. This is the same risk that the farmer would have taken if he would have paid $3 for a kilogram, and now he takes the same risk, but he's being paid $6 for a kilogram. So the risks are the same, but because he's in charge, the industrial stage is a much more comfortable and solid stage. You have the crops, you have the production lines, you have a truck at the end. Everything is very clear once the things go to the production line. Now, today, the farmer, 100% of his work is at risk. When he is in charge of the farming stage and the industrial stage, then only 50% of his work is at risk. So it's not that we are minimizing. We are, to a certain extent, minimizing the farming risks because of our knowledge and experience. But even if he stays at the same risk, the percentage of risk from his whole scope of work is much smaller.
Right now, in which countries are you working, and for which products? I mean, in which countries you are working with farmers, and also in which country are you selling those products?
We have farms in Israel. We have farms in Africa, in 3 different countries in Africa. But ask me again in 3 weeks, and I might give you even a bigger answer, because farmers join us all the time according to seasonality. So most of our farms are either in Israel or in Africa. In Israel, it is more comfortable for us because everything, we can try new things because it's under our hands and very easy to handle. But we expand quite rapidly. The goods are sold mostly to the US and some of it to Europe. I would say the greater share goes to the US and the rest goes to Europe. But again, it's not that because we are limited to a certain market. This is because we are serving the fastest growing industries. And the fastest growing industries are mostly located either in the US and in Europe. Some of them are located in Asia Pacific, but there is a certain extent that we can take everything at once. So we go bit by bit.
Can you explain me a little about how do you work in China? Because it's different, because they do their own process.
Well, if you take a picture of what we do in Israel and in Africa, and if you take a picture of what we do in China, it will look the same. A farm, an industry, and the market all together. But the process was different because in our country and in Africa, where the countries are very, very agricultural oriented, we took the farmer and we pushed him forward into becoming an industrialist. In China, which is very industrially oriented, this actually happened the other way. We first partnered with the industrialist, and then after we started working more and more with the industrialist, he realized that if he wants to secure stock availability and to promise raw material quality, he has to also become a farmer. So if in the rest of the world we took farmers and turned them to become also industrialists, in China it went the opposite way around, where industrialists also became farmers. But again, after a while, this is the same all over. Same people being in charge of the farming stage and the industrial stage.
As someone that works with the agricultural sector worldwide, how would you describe the main problems or challenges nowadays from a global perspective?
First of all, there is the climate issue. Okay, in many look, we in Israel, we are lucky. We always have, since ever, we had bad climate. Israel is mostly desert, and we had to create our own special techniques of dripping irrigation, special varieties to be able to have a glorious agriculture in a desert. But in other places of the world, it can be in North America, it can be in Argentina, it can be in Africa. People are very reliant on the climate conditions for their agriculture. Now, what happens if 1 year it doesn't rain? What happens if for 1 year, after you've planted the seeds, all of a sudden there are 2 weeks of frozen nights? If you are not prepared to create the microclimate for your agriculture, like we do in Israel, for example, then you suffer a lot. All of a sudden, there's no crops, the yields are low, or the products come different. This is one challenge that everyone has to deal with. The second challenge for the agricultural sector is that the demands of the market are getting higher and higher and higher and higher. Today, if we take, for example, organic products and conventional products. Today, the demands for the conventional products are very, very close to the organic demands. And farmers have to change their techniques, and they have to stand for global regulations that force them to use cleaner techniques, to use better environmental practices, that force them to use certain materials and not others. And this is a challenge. This is for traditional farmers who hadn't done anything but what their parents and grandparents and great-grandparents have done. This change does not come easily. And sometimes this is also an expensive change. It costs. Before you make more profits, you have to pay more. Cage-free layers and things like that. Now, when these farmers, when they join us in our model, this helps them to improve into the new regulations, into the new expenses, with better practices and with better profits. So I would say climate and the new regulations are the greatest challenges for the farming sector. This is, of course, on top, not instead, but on top of the old challenges of costs, of severe weather conditions, and whatever farmers had been suffering from the days of Abraham and David.
Well, Amir, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge, and it's amazing what you are doing with this new business model. I hope you keep growing. So thank you for being here with us.
I hope we'll keep going, and I hope we also keep going on your direction.
Oh, well, I hope you can come to Latin America also.
Yes, most definitely. There's a lot to do for everyone, with everyone.